Thanks God it's Friday. Another good opportunity to talk digital. Today's broadcast leads us into the world of IT solutions. We want to learn how we can improve the building of IT solutions. And this is unthinkable to accomplish without having 𝗃𝗍𝗀𝗀 with us. So thank you very much, John, to join us, and welcome to our show.
Thank you very much, Sven. Thanks for the invitation.
Now, thank you for joining, for making it possible, of course. Yes. Maybe some viewers might not know you so well. Would you like to tell them who you are and especially how you came up to be part of the world of business solutions?
Okay, I'm a software engineer. That's was what I studied. I've been working for 24 years in corporations, especially in touristic sector, being first as a software architect, then a development manager, and then an innovation manager outside of IT. And in the last 8 years, I've been working as a innovation and technology consultant for different kind of companies. Still touristic companies that I can help here in Mallorca, where I'm based, or small enterprises, or even startups that has interesting projects that require some kind of technology and that I can help with my expertise in those fields.
Oh, it sounds interesting. Yeah. So the companies approach you, or do you know them and you see what they are doing wrong and you approach them, or what's the game like?
Well, it's kind of both. I have some referrals from existing clients, some of them from my past in the touristic sector that I know how to manage that. And in some cases, I have to do some kind of marketing to try to connect with the people and make them aware that I'm available to help them.
It's already great. If companies come back to you, then you must have been very qualified, obviously. Let us dig into the topic we want to discuss today. When we look at the process between the idea and, of course, later when the thing is big in the market and everybody tries to rule the world, there are some stages in between. Let's say the typical validation phase, the launch phase, the scale phase. Where's the point where you come into the game?
Basically, I can help all the companies in every one of those stages. What I wanted really to focus here is that this is not a technology conference or meeting. It's not directed to the technology part, but to the business side. So it's important to organize the information around the business decisions that are related to that. And this is why I try to organize those mistakes that, based on my experience, I've seen when working with corporation, startups, different kind of companies, and organize them into the business stages, because probably they have more sense in that way.
I see. Okay. So it's better to have you during the whole process with the company. Yeah. But the earliest you come into the game, the better is, I guess. Yeah. When I talk to teams, either in established companies or startup, doesn't matter, in this particular validation phase, they often appear extremely enthusiastic. What would be a characteristic mistake for that particular phase where they are all over optimistic?
Well, this is probably the best moment to enter into and creating properly the solutions. And what happens with startups is that usually they, in this case, approach me trying to get some help on the technology side, which is the best technology to use, which is the team that could help them with that. And they have a lot of enthusiasm, as you were saying. They are love their idea. They have that will solve the problem and the next step. And this is probably for me a great moment to think of what are you saying. You are going to invest a lot of time, a lot of money to launch this business idea and to develop this platform.
Yeah.
And from as a technology supplier in some way, that's great for me, but probably they have to reconsider that and see if they have to do some kind of cheaper validation of what they are doing. And I think that this is the best approach that they should do before entering into the process of building a whole system. So that's my idea. There are multiple ways to do that. Try to not just to survey the market and see if there is an audience, but seeing if the price is right, if you can reach them in a cheaper way or in a way that is according to your system. Maybe you can validate using some crowdfunding. So before starting building something, you can get some validation that the people is ready to show the money and pay for that, not investing in building the real software solution for that.
So to some extent, you appear as the one who leads enthusiasm and over-optimism into productive energy. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm quite optimistic in general. In fact, some of these ideas I love not just to work as a consultant, but involved into those projects if I'm happy with them. But it's a bit hard for me to having to remove part of this enthusiasm and show them that they need to do a proper validation before starting investing too much.
I think that's a very, very good idea, and I think that's a very helpful job you're doing in this case. The next step would be to launch the finally made, finally realized product. That is often indeed the neck-breaking phase. Of course, it's expensive, it's difficult to do, there are things to do. If we're talking about startup companies, yeah, what are the typical mistakes in that stage?
Well, what's special about startups when they are working is that the first situation is that they have not much money in general, but they have a lot of enthusiasm at this moment, and they have a lot of flexibility. But for me, the first step that is critical is, or the first mistake that is critical at this moment, is sourcing the key software knowledge. And the key word here is key. So not every startup is a digital technology-based company. So if you are producing shoes, that's okay. So probably you will need some digital tools to do what you are doing, or maybe you can even need an e-commerce site to offer your product, but you can do that through other channels. So this is not, then in this situation, the software is not the key. But when you are trying to build a kind of platform where the value proposition that you're doing is based on the existence of this software, then this part is critical for the company. And if it's critical for the company, you need to have the knowledge about that into your core team. So this is something that you need to do, as the same as probably you need a sector-specific expert or a marketing expert. If you are going to sell, you need to know, have this. Probably you don't need, it's not key for you, the administration or maybe the suppliers or other things can be managed in different ways. But in this case, it's important to have ownership of this system. And this requires, let's call this role a chief technical officer, a CTO. You need to have these people into your team, into your core team, or at least with a long-term relationship with them. The CTO is not the developer. Maybe you can outsource the development. You can even outsource the project manager, or even you can outsource to a consultant like me, the architecture. You can outsource those kind of things, but someone that is into the core team of the new business should be aware and controlling what's being created, how it will work, and if you later decide to move to a different environment, you should be able to take all this knowledge with you, because this is the critical part of your new company. This is one of the mistakes. Other mistakes that I've seen at this moment: developing a monolithic solution that is a solution that will solve everything. In the current situation, there are plenty of tools that cover different parts of the business life cycle. You can have administrative systems, you can have ticketing systems, you can have messaging systems, you can have tools that allow you to do a lot of things with that. So you need to be able to, as is usually being done right now, is to try to integrate those tools into creating your working environment. And then you need to develop those ones that are specific and not offered by anyone else. It's not just for the cost reason. It's because probably those tools, specific tools, will be much more powerful than anything that you can create. And also because they encourage you to modularize to create a modular solution. So probably in the future, in future stages, you could reconsider those decisions and change this model. That's very difficult if you have a big system that is trying to do everything from a single place. Another solutions I've seen here is trying to use, I say, an oversized platform that is trying to choose the great tool that will scale if your business is going and is being launched. Probably at this moment, the cost is important, the time to market is really important, so that you start selling and you start seeing your product being on the market. And big systems that can scale and can offer a lot of possibilities probably are expensive on one side, but they are also, they have a long learning curve. So this is something that at this moment can be more a barrier than an advantage. So at this moment, I recommend selecting the proper tool to do what you are doing at this moment, and later maybe you have to rethink of that, because thinking too far away can be a problem. What you need to be aware of also, and it's another possible mistake, of course, all the components and models that you are using to build your system should have some kind of integration, but you should be careful with those solutions having some lock-in for you. That means that if later you have to replace them, you will lose a lot of information or a lot of value. So you should be able to export the information in some way with not too much cost, maybe to move to the new system if the information is critical. As an example of that, if you start using a payment system, for example, let's say PayPal or Stripe or one of those tools, and later you decide to change, there is a cost here, because all the customers that have a recurring payment based on that, probably you will have to renegotiate with them and reestablish the payment to the new platform. And this is it has a lot of possibilities that it will create some kind of loss for the company in the process. So when selecting something, see that it's functionally enough for what you're doing, but also that you can integrate with the rest of the systems and that you can export the information if you want to move away from that in the future.
That sounds extremely familiar to me in many, many points. What I was especially surprised even was that you had to recommend to choose the simplest solution. Yeah, because I know this is a typical German engineering problem when they start to develop a product. at the end of the development process, it is something which can solve basically every problem of the world plus coffee cooking. And this is exactly one typical way to fail, definitely. And interesting to see you suggesting simpler models also to startup companies. Great. I like that very much. And this was the specific thing for the startup companies. Of course, also bigger companies sometimes try to launch business solutions. What's their characteristic mistake in these launch phase?
Okay, in this situation, the situation is different from the company point of view. They probably have a cash flow enough. They have products on the market. They are working and having established cash flow, and the business is running. And they also have a history. And this history probably is creating some kind of limitations and restrictions based on previous decisions. So my first idea or my first recommendation to the people is to try to avoid running the new initiative that you are trying to launch, the new project, in the terms of the established products. So the first idea will be, or the first mistake will be not running the new initiative as if it was a startup. So the process is more or less the same. You are going to launch a new product, then you need to create the business model canvas and see which is critical here. Element specialist, if you need a marketer, if the IT is critical, as we were talking in the previous stage, try to create a core team that will have this part of the process and that they will work focused on that project that will not run as a side project. That is, if you go to an existing marketing department and you ask them product, but at the idea, so these people is just focused on that. And it's possible to try to put these people working together, even if the company is big and they have to move away and connect in some way, and try to remove even functional dependencies. So of course, the IT expert probably is working for an IT manager, and the marketing expert for a marketing manager. But having them working together will avoid that in 3 weeks there will be a crisis in some way, and they will require that they stop working on the new initiative and going to support other parts of the business. The other part is, the other mistake I've seen at this part is not giving freedom to the new startups that you have in the company or the new initiative to take the decisions about which are the rest of the company that they are going to use, the rest of the departments. They can use the human resources, the administrative, the IT support, whatever is necessary. But if they need something that's external, they should be able to use that. And in the terms of IT, they could use the system platform, but if they need something different, they should have the possibility to move and try different tools for that. Because probably for established business, they have, as I was saying before, a long story, and the new system, it will be difficult to create with the existing platform that is using for the rest of the system.
Yeah, that sounds also very familiar to me, the standard conflict between those innovative renovators of a company and the established traditionalists, which are defending every improvement they created in the last decades. Yeah, but okay. And it was very, very, very nice to hear from your side that you're also one of the fans of the business canvas model. Indeed, I think that's something which should be recommended to companies. It's not rocket science, but it's extremely helpful tool to find its way to turn an idea into a successful product. When we look at the process, okay, we had this validation phase at the beginning. We had this phase of launching it, of course, and there are many possibilities to fail on that street. But later on, if this is everything fine, if everything could be bypassed, then the next phase is the scale up, where everything becomes reality, and that's something interesting as well. Some mistakes can also happen in that phase, is it?
Yes, at a certain moment, if the new project or the new initiative you are running is fine, then you are moving to a new situation that's an established product that you are generating and is selling and is generating cash flow. So it's a reality. It's not just validated, but also it's generating its own income. With the previous recommendation, we have a serious risk, that is to create silos, that is to create solutions that are totally independent from the rest of the company. And this is the moment where I suggest to try to get this information and the information from this project into the rest of the situation. From one side, it's important to get an economy of scale or whatever you are doing. So if you don't want to have 10 different solutions, you have 10 products with 10 different suppliers, with 10 different architectures, with 10 different knowledges that people has to manage for that. So it's important to put them in a single place. You don't want that if there is a data policy change requirement, you have to change it in 10 places. If there is a technology that is becoming obsolete, you need to change that in 10 places. So it's important to do a background process, trying to move everything into a solution that is commonly used by the rest of the system. Second problem is that the decisions that we did at the beginning, now is the moment to question them and see if they are able to scale or work as we planned. So maybe this is the moment to replace the simple accounting system with an SAP solution or doing a process like that, because at this moment you have covered and demonstrated that the product deserves the effort to do all this learning curve and all this integration. So because of price, because of different reasons, you can decide to change those modules and move them into a new version, maybe the corporate standard version, or maybe simply a different solution because the other one is not longer valid. But also, there is a possibility, if you are running different products in established companies, that the new project has created some learning. So this is another mistake. So you need to go into the standard solution because this is what we are using. But maybe with the experiment of the last project we have launched, we have discovered that there is a better tool with better functionality, maybe cheaper, easy to integrate, faster, whatever, that maybe it could be a replacement for the rest of the company. And you have tested that in a real product. So getting these learnings into the system is this is the moment to do that after you have launched, validated, and have the product validated by the market and generating profits.
I think that sounds good to me, definitely. Of course, you can make mistakes, but if you repeatedly do the same mistakes, then it's a failure, and that's something we don't like. Yeah, this is really not helpful if you want to scale up everything. And of course, you should not fall in love with your former solutions. They might be outdated already. This was an interesting journey through all these processes, from the idea to the scaling up. If you would sum up all these learnings which you presented during this broadcast, how would this look like?
Well, the concept is when you are launching something new, first one, decide what's key and ensure that the company will focus on that. try to create a modular system, try to use the easiest solution that you can find at each moment, especially during the first stages, and then do a background process to integrate what you have learned and what you have discovered into established system that can be reused for the rest of the company. Those are my recommendations based on what I've seen that it works and what it fails. This is not a perfect solution. I've seen everything here, but you should try to avoid those mistakes in building software solutions. And if you decide not to do that, then simply you should have good reasons not to avoid those mistakes that are my suggestions that I've been offering here. So the important point here is that the business success is the what's important here, and the software solution is something to support that, and you can put that as at the service of the business always, not the other side.
So I like that one particular, yeah, as I said, okay, it's a good thing to have excuses, but that's at the end of the day not very productive. And better is to try to learn from the mistakes. John, we have a good tradition in our little broadcast, saying at the end of the broadcast, when the time is running out, we are offering our guests always a 60-second block in which they are allowed to talk about whatever they would love to talk about already and maybe had no opportunity to do so. Would you like to take this opportunity as well?
Of course.
So then please feel free to talk about whatever you want to talk.
Okay. Is your business ready to manage the continuous technological changes, cope with emerging startups, excel in a remote and global world? I'm 𝗃𝗿𝗀𝗀, and I'm an innovation and technology consultant. I meet more often than I would like companies of all sizes and sectors that invest a lot of time, money, energy, and enthusiasm in creating solutions with a high risk of being unsuitable for what they are really need. I have extensive experience in technology agnostics, team agnostics, and even business agnostics, so I can give you my best independent recommendation on how and when and with who to do the things right to ensure the success of your business. Corrective problems can be very expensive after everything has been built. So before you invest too much, if your company needs to rethink its technology, do not hesitate to contact me at 𝗃𝗿𝗀𝗀.com. Thank you, Sven. Thank you for the invitation to participate in this presentation.
No, thank you that you let us participate on your great knowledge. And of course, for those who like to and for those who have the possibility, we will meet again just in a few minutes, no, in a few seconds in the Clubhouse room. We already prepared for our post discussion. For the moment now, and for all the viewers which have to now follow different things, thank you very much, John, for joining us. Thank you very much for letting us participate in your knowledge. Thank you very much for tuning in, and see you next Friday again when it is the Chill Out Friday and we again talk about digital. Thank you very much. Bye bye and stay healthy.